Hello Internet, and welcome to my tub and the next issues of Creature by Garth Ennis. Today we're covering issues 13, 14, 15, and 16. I hope you've read up to that point because I do not want to ruin anything for you. Chapter 13 starts with Franken Cowboy. You remember him. And he is looking over the aftermath of Jesse's kind of brawl with his family. Then, Jesse and Tulip, they kind of bonk. They bonk hard. Then we meet an albino drug dealer who's also a sexual deviant. Seriously. And then Jesse and Tulip have a wonderful moment in the tub, which is why I'm featuring this part here, where they discuss everything that just happened to them. And Jesse asks Tulip what's it like to be shot. They discuss that Cassidy is just kind of letting them do their own thing, have their kind of honeymoon sort of thing, and they are just being a couple in a tub. Then we get to find out about the Grail. And the Grail are the secret organization. And a Swede comes to talk to a woman and a black man. And that's about it. It's just really introducing the Grail as a whole. Then Jesse and Tulip decide to catch up with Cassidy at a bar where a punk rock show is showing. And Jesse and Cassidy split and have a boys' night while Tulip kind of just sleeps it off in the hotel room. Enter Mr. Star, a bald, one-eyed, scarred-faced man who looks very, very angry. This guy looks like white supremacist angry. And he is visiting with the Grail. What a lovely corporation this is! It turns out that Mr. Star is actually leading the hunt for Jesse with the Grail. And he ends up blowing away the Swede's head, who I thought was a leader at the beginning, but now that he's dead, I guess he's not, and Mr. Star is. This is all just getting so fucked up already. Way to go, Preacher! So, Jesse and Cassidy decide to go out and go bar hopping, and they have a boys' night out. And they're talking about Laurel and Hardy, and these guys actually change the channel while they're watching Laurel and Hardy. And, well, a bar fight ensues. And Cassidy decides that he's going to feast on one of these people that are fighting with him. And Jesse accidentally uses a word on Cassidy, which pisses him off, but Jesse immediately apologizes. And this is what I thought would happen. He would get this power and he would use it on accident. He would do something heinous with this power. This wasn't heinous, but I have a feeling he's going to accidentally use it soon. Enter Bob and Freddy, sexual investigators. If you have no idea what that is, you're not alone. I am very, very confused right now. Jesse and Cassidy decide to sleep their boys' night off at Cassidy's ex-girlfriend's place. And they're just kind of hanging out there, and her cat is really bugging the two of them. And Jesse asks what happened to Cassidy's ex, and Cassidy says that she died because she had a heroin overdose. And it's kind of dark. While they are scaring away the cat, Cassidy accidentally kicks a wall and pokes a hole in the wall where they find a safe. And, well, they try and crack it open, but Jesse stops him and says it's rigged to explode. They need the combination to open it. We go to the Grail, where Mr. Star is having a conversation with one of them, and he discusses how the hunt for Jesse is actually for the Grail's best interest. He believes that capturing Jesse will save the organization. Then we meet the albino again. You remember him, the sexual deviant who was also a drug dealer, and he is setting up his mansion for a giant party. Also, Cassidy accidentally gets knocked out the window when Jesse and him are trying to catch the cat because they believe the cat has the combination for the safe around its neck. Cassidy comes back from outside, you know, burned up and worse for wear, and Jesse says, "I have a little surprise for you in the bathroom." And Cassidy finds that he put the cat in the toilet. And so Cassidy decides to flush it a few times and torture the little beast. But at the time, Jesse is opening up the safe, and he finds the card for the sexual investigators inside the safe with a huge amount of heroin inside. And of course, Cassidy is fucking pissed off at this right now. Also, people from the Grail, well, one of them is looking for a hooker. One of them is trying to find a hooker for Mr. Star, the lovely man that he is. I don't know why I left. I don't have any more books. So, the guy goes up to a bunch of hookers in an alley, and he says, you know, "I'm looking for a hooker." And the hooker says, "Why don't you try calling these guys? They'll help you out." And she gives him a card for the sexual investigators. Also, Mr. Star is talking with another person from the Grail and telling her how much, you know, this Jesse thing is pretty personal to the head honchos in the Grail. And then Cassie and Tulip are having a conversation, and she says, you know, no. Jesse and Tulip are having a conversation, and she tells Jesse that, you know, she believes Cassidy is a bad influence on him because he's catching her up on everything that they did. Nope. Still no other things I want to put on this toilet. So, after she says that, you know, Cassidy's a bad influence, these sexual investigators are actually raiding the apartment that Cassidy is staying in, and they're looking for the drugs that Cassidy and Jesse actually found. And it takes Cassidy all his will not to just eat those guys, you know, drain them dry. And Cassidy meets up with Tulip and Jesse at a bar to tell them what happened, and the Grail are discussing Mr. Star, who is waiting in an alley for his hooker, who turns out to be one of the men who are the sexual investigators. And he's like, "No, I don't like men. No, no, no!" And that's how that issue ends. Mr. Star is pissed. Like, incredibly pissed. Because he had sex with a man, rather than the woman he was expecting to find. So, he's very, very frustrated. "I told you to get me a woman!" So, Jesse and Cassidy decide that they are going to hunt down these sexual investigators and figure out why they gave, you know, her drugs. And eventually they do, and there's a fight. and Cassidy actually throws one of them out of the building and onto a car. And he throws the other one into a wall and leaves them. A fucking woman! Admittedly, Mr. Star is very and understandably pissed. And he attacks the man at the Grail, and he is beating the crap out of him. And they decide that they are going to hunt down the sexual investigators because, well, one of them was the one who fucked Mr. Star. A fucking woman! So, Mr. Star and the Grail, well, they get to the sexual investigators just after Jesse and Cassidy, and they see the aftermath. They see the guy on top of the car. They see the guy in the wall. And they question the guy. And the guy tells him that the man that they're looking for is going to be at the ALBINOS party. And that same guy actually told Jesse and Cassidy that he's going to be at the party where the drug lord is, because the albino that's throwing that party was the same guy who gave Cassidy's ex-girlfriend drugs. They killed her. So they're going to hunt him down too. Fucking woman! Eventually, Jesse, Cassidy, and Tulip go to the ALBINOS party. And there's a lot of different scenes where they are looking in on all these different sexual acts that are happening at this party. And it's disturbing, every single one of them. Until Jesse runs into the albino, who is the drug dealer that they are looking for. Fucking women! Right at the end of the issue, Mr. Star shows up with the Grail to pretty much ruin the albinos party. Fucking women! Ooh, ha, ooh. The next issue starts with Mr. Star and the Grail actually walking in on the albinos orgy. Dear God. Then, ooh, hello. Jesse walks in on the albino filming a porno. And then he finds a little kid in the corner. The Grail are going around the party and they have a little run-in with Tulip. And there's a shootout between the Grail and Tulip. Then Cassidy runs into sexual investigators and they engage in fisticuffs. And this orgy is no longer an orgy so much as it is a huge fight with guns and fists and vampires. During this fight, the investigators, well, one of them is thrown on top of a car with his pants around his ankles. The other is killed by Cassidy. Also, the Grail have kidnapped Tulip, and they are driving away just as Jesse is leaving the mansion. Being the badass that he is, Jesse steals a car of his own and chases after the Grail and saves Tulip. During this, saving of Tulip, he finds out that the Grail believe that Cassidy is actually him. And they believe that Cassidy is this guy who owns the Word of God. And, well, Jesse decides to go after Cassidy. And the Grail says, if you think we're going to tell you where Jesse Custer is, you are wrong. And Jesse doesn't give a fuck. He's going to go save his friend. Holy crap. So lots happened. Cassidy's been kidnapped, and the Grail believe that Cassidy is Jesse, and he owns the Word of God. While Jesse has the Grail, and he's taking them to go find Cassidy again, because he wants to go find his friend. The question that I have for you today, since this section was all about a lot of people walking in on a lot of uncomfortable positions, What's the weirdest thing you've ever walked in on? The question that I had yesterday was, when you were little, did you have an imaginary friend or someone that you believed to be there with you to help you? And I did. I was a big fan of two things in particular. I was a big fan of Ghostbusters, the cartoon, and The Great Mouse Detective. And so it was Egon from Ghostbusters, and it was, Sherlock Mouse from The Great Mouse Detective, who were... Well, actually, no, I wasn't imagining I was Sherlock Mouse. Or I wasn't imagining that Sherlock Mouse was with me. I was imagining that I was Sherlock Mouse, and it was Watson that was always following me, because I was awesome. See? I was awesome even as a kid. The next book that I'm reading, I'm not sure what it is, and I need your help deciding. So, I have 3 options right now. And I'll also take any other options that you have for a book or a comic book that is being made into a movie or TV show in the future that I should read before Hollywood ruins it. Here are the 3 options that I have so far. We have Pines by Blake Crouch, which is based off of the TV show, or not, which the TV show Wayward Pines is based off of. We have Ring, which is what the Japanese horror movie series Ringu is based off of. And we have American Gods, which is being turned into a TV show on HBO. I don't know if it's later this year or early next year, but soon. So those are my options that I have for you so far. If you have any other options, leave them down in the comments, and I will look into reading those as well. I've been the purple-haired doofus, reminding you to watch your Pajama Radius, and I will see you all in the next issues of Preacher by Garth Ennis. Toodles!